What's going on, Hamid? What's going on? We'll get started here just quickly. Short week. I think today was pretty relatively quiet. Let everyone trickle in here just shortly. What's going on, guys? What's going on? Welcome in. What's going on, Jason? What's up, AA? Kind of a weird day right there. Today was definitely a weird day. I will say that. I had some side things to do, family stuff to take care of today, so I wasn't too much on live. I popped in around 11, but then I had to take care of some other stuff. So I'm kind of actually glad today was one of those days where I kind of stayed on the sideline because it definitely felt like one of those days where I was going to be finding myself in multiple trades, which I basically shouldn't have been in. And that's kind of, I'm sure, how everyone felt like maybe they shouldn't have traded today. Maybe they should have took the day off, or maybe they just took too many trades for that matter. And that's really what I kind of took from the outcome. Looking through the chat, looking through the comments. I know today also wasn't a great day for the cloud alerts. It's just because of the fact of the kind of range that the market traded in today. That's why we saw names starting to pretty much call bottoms and tops on the clouds. And when you're in such a range like today is that you can end up being at a critical support level, and the next thing you know, the broader market takes it right back up. And that's really what happened with a lot of those cloud alerts. You see those individual tickers that are pretty much right at a key breakout point or key breakdown point, and then the market just literally that's literally the bottom of the range for the day, and then you go back to the top of the range. And that's really all we did. On that note, also we ended up snapping the 6-day green streak that the market was on. So that was another kind of like a little hint for me coming off a hot week last week. 6 green days in a row. You had to know at some point we were going to snap that green streak, right? But we did it in probably the most ugliest fashion right now, just putting us in a box. If you literally look at Tesla and Apple, it pretty much says everything that you need to know because they're basically flat on the day. And that's really what was just so ugly about the day. As Jason, yeah, you said it exactly. Like, you should have just taken the day off, if I'm being honest. And those are times where you have to pretty much get a little bit of a hunch, not necessarily just knowing when the market's against you, right? Um, and looking at sentiment wise, even though we were due to basically snap that 6-day green streak, there was nothing that said that we really needed to fall off of a cliff. And that's why you saw that we basically were just put into a box today. And it's either you ended up buying the bottom of the box or you caught the top of the box that you ended up banking off beautifully. But the other thing that I pretty much took away from today also was that the Nimbus actually did amazing today. I think there's also one person in our chat, Gabe, if anyone pays attention to him, he literally plays all of the Nimbus on the flow alerts. That's something that you want to pay attention to, especially days where you feel like you're at a disadvantage. And I know he actually does that on a regular basis. But if I actually remember as well, Dan even pointed out there was a Tesla Nimbus that went 3 for 3 for today, right? It fired 3 times, and all three of them paid you at least 20%. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Maybe the outcome of maybe what you want to turn your attention to tomorrow to maybe be a rebound kind of day for those of you that got slaughtered. All right. Getting into basically what I see though for the week, uh, it's kind of a little bit of an iffy spot that we're sitting in right now. I think we're in a little bit of a crucial spot. We're basically pretty much sitting right under our anchored VWAP from our high from March 29th. Do I expect to basically reach that anchored VWAP of 420.20? Yes, I do. The question is going to be how do we respond to that level? So that's roughly about 7, 8 points off from that anchored VWAP. I am expecting to end up reaching that anchored VWAP here at that 420 spot. And so that's what I'm going to be looking at tomorrow. Maybe we even probably I wouldn't say gap up that high because that'll probably be a pretty gnarly gap up. But if we do end up getting to that point, that price point pretty early on in the day at that 420.20 spot, I want to see how we end up responding. Do we reject in a horrible fashion in which it's just going to be a hard rejection and we go back down? But overall, if I actually had to give you my PT for this week particularly, I'm looking for 426 low. 426 low is where I actually have us going basically by the end of the week here. And why do I say 426? That's basically a level that we pretty much reversed off of from January 24th. Obviously, you see the body of the candle head above that. We had a gnarly reversal. Then between the period of February 22nd up until the breakout point that we had on March 16th. That was a pretty much intermediate resistance to support level. Again, once you had that breakout off of March 16th there, March 17th to be particular, that you had a beautiful breakout right off of that 426 low spot to make that high that I put the anchor view up at. So I'm gonna look to see that 426 spot particularly be our rejection spot, and that's where I would expect us to ultimately go down. It's just a matter of how soon we end up getting to the 426 spot. That's what I'm looking at for the end of the week. But again, short term, you're looking at this anchored view up that you have from that March 29th high, and that's that 420 spot level, which I think is going to be a pretty crucial level to see if we reject or we can continue higher to that 426 level that I'm watching. All right. So that's what I'm going to be looking at in terms of SPY right here. Otherwise, if we end up breaking down, I'm basically looking for us to pretty much take out 407. We fill that gap at that 407 spot, and I have us likely coming down much lower. First PT will likely be right back under that to that 395 spot. So 407, I think literally just is going to be a downshoot towards 395, in which we're going to see the week probably get ugly from that standpoint. All right, but those are pretty much the two big levels that I'm watching in either direction here. All right. Other than that, just pretty much just taking it day by day. Obviously, it kind of feels right now that you're buying high just to sell higher right now in this market, right? Today ultimately obviously felt like a buy the dip opportunity, but being the fact that you're so high up off of a 6 day green streak already, that's where it gets a little bit more tricky, especially those of you that are pretty much swing traders, that you're holding positions overnight. It gets more tricky over here because now you're like, oh, but we already are up so high. We are already up 6 days in a row, right? Why would I want to buy all the way up here and then pretty much get slaughtered? That's where it gets more crucial. That's why it's a little bit more tricky trying to swing positions here at this crucial point, especially on a short week, where if you end up being wrong tomorrow, then you remember that it's a short week. So your premiums are even just going to get slaughtered. So I would say if you are swinging here overnight, the best thing to probably do would be swing next week expiration. And even if you want to be more safe, then you go in the money. All right. But swinging right now, I would not suggest same week expiration, just being the fact that it's uh, basically it's the same week expiration on a short week. All right. I don't have the short interest information. I gotta see where Tom gets it from. I don't remember exactly what the indication is for it, but I'll let Tom know to see if I can get that actually auto-populated for you guys in the chat for AMC and for Salvo for you guys. All right. And then I'll pretty much be able to get Tom to auto-populate that. I know he knows the command for it, and I'll have him drop it in the chat for you. All right. But just going over a few quick tickers, give you guys some levels here that you can pretty much feed off of here going into tomorrow. I think Apple is probably one of the biggest ones that I'm watching here in particular. Apple's one where I want to see that continuation for Apple here. Uh, and of course, being directional here, we're looking for the breakdown here under 146.88. Or I'm looking for this continuation here towards 153.5 is what I'm watching. As that was the key breakdown level, you anchored off of May 2nd as support here, and then you broke down, which you pretty much led towards new lows on this back from May 11th. So I want to see us retest that 153.5 in continuation to the upside. And if we end up breaking down, then I'm watching Apple to basically break down below this 147 is that ideal ballpark number that you're watching. So those are the two crucial levels that I want to see. Obviously, the market continues to grind higher tomorrow. I'm going to be looking for calls here towards 153, in which sentiment will likely continue to stay neutral to bullish. But we want to see how we snap back after breaking that 6 day green streak. All right. Other than that one, the other one that I wanted to pretty much point off was also Microsoft. This is also another leader in the market here. Watching breakdown under 269, or we continue to trend higher and we're pushing 278 half. So this is another one that I'm on watch here. Microsoft and Apple will likely lead the way if the market does want to continue to go higher. All right. I'll take a look at Commando. You want to look at Lulu? I'll take a look at it for you then. Take a look at Lulu. I haven't looked at Lulu in a while actually. Not a bad looking chart actually. I'll give you that. You did break the downtrend resistance. So if I pretty much draw the downtrend resistance, you basically see that you basically broke that. And I'll change the color to a bright yellow. So obviously you see you broke that downtrend resistance. You're pretty much hovering, just kind of consolidating here after breaking that. As long as you pretty much hold this 289 spot, 289 half, then I would expect you to get continuation up towards the completion of gap fill. That's sitting at 303.10. But above that, the level that I would pretty much be sitting at watching here would be right around this 317 spot. If the market continues to grind higher, and once you do end up getting that gap fill at 304, if you get continuation above 304, then my next PT will be watching 317 on that. So, but I would ultimately look to pretty much take your profits upon the gap fill if you are sitting in Lulu calls here. Look to collect your profits at that 304 spot for the gap fill to be completed. And if be the case, maybe you even add at that position if you break above the gap fill when it's completed, or you end up leaving a runner, and then you can potentially look to target that 317, which is a runner, and that way it feels like it's risk free. All right. But I do like that one in particular, but just make sure that it ends up holding 289. Otherwise, if you can't hold 289, then you do not want to risk end up getting a flush down towards gap fill below. All right, and that's how I would pretty much look at that. I know. Oh, all right. So we got an earnings play. Let's see if we could take a look at it. VSCO. I haven't. I didn't even know who was reporting today. I know that Salesforce is reporting this week also. Victoria's Secrets. It's up about $2. I think this is pretty much about up the same as Nordstrom was. I know that Tatum. Who ended up calling that? Oh, Tay ended up calling out for Nordstrom to go up. It was up about the same amount. But good to see they actually beat. I'm sure the guidance is probably going to be another thing that you pretty much want to watch, but looks like big level that you want to see here on continuation will be roughly around 45.18 is that resistance level that you're watching. Otherwise, that would end up being a beautiful breakout if you can get above that 45.18. And above that, I think you can likely stretch this up towards 47. 47 flat would be where I would particularly watch for. That would pretty much also be in confluence with your lows sitting back from May 2nd. So 47 would be my target if you can break above 45.18 on Victoria's Secrets here and back end of that earnings report. But I do like that chart in particular. You're actually making a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders if you actually notice that on the back end of this earnings right now. You do have a nice little inverted head and shoulders action. If I pretty much outline it, you could potentially see it actually just curled up on the back end of that earnings to make an inverted head and shoulders action. So that might be a beautiful one for continuation there on VSCO for Victoria's Secrets. What else? CRM just reported too. Okay, that's a good one to watch. I didn't know it was actually today. I know they reported this week. Wow, beautiful move. They actually just went right into resistance though. That was actually resistance sitting right here at this 169 low. That was your resistance spot that you were pretty much watching. Above that, and I actually do want to see. Let me see the daily on this. Damn, this thing's been beaten up. Wow, destroyed. Um, I think you could take this up to 172 half. 172 half looks like the next resistance spot. I think that actually might smack here tonight. Granted the fact that they probably haven't spoke about their earnings just yet. The conference call hasn't started. But 172 half looks like that spot, the next resistance spot. But above that I'm watching here, I think your next level that you could take this up probably with confidence here will be 177 half is what I'm looking at. Yeah, 177 half. If you can, once this breaks 172, then I would take this up to 177 half, and that would likely be another continuation play similar to Victoria's Secret. So 177 half, I would remember that number. That would be your upside target that you're watching here tomorrow. All right. Other than that, it's up. Well, I mean, that's why I was like, it's probably gonna smack that 172 on Salesforce here just shortly, Jason. As you said, it was up $10. That 172 though should act as a resistance here overnight until potentially some upgrades come out tomorrow morning. We see some analyst ratings, and then we'll see if we can make that push up towards 178 tomorrow. Since no one is asking Zen, I saw something about Zen. I feel like I saw something about put flow or something on Zen, but I'll take a look at it. And it looks like I actually had something, but I'm gonna just delete it. Just to look at it all over. Are we making inverted head and shoulders? I want to say you're making inverted head and shoulders, but let me see the micro again. Yeah, that's slim. It's very slim. Very slim that it's making inverted head and shoulders. But if you were to curl up right here on Zen right now, that would potentially still have a valid inverted head and shoulders. But just looking at the daily, that's kind of what I wanted to really more so look at to see what the levels look like. Eh, let's see the weekly. This is not looking pretty. I'll be honest with you. It's not looking very convincing that I want to be a part of this. If I really had to tell you where this was likely going, I think you have a date with 85 low on Zen. I think that's ideally where it's going to be headed for. That was the level that you had as a little bit of a support before you broke down and made a low from March 16th of last year for the, and then that's also the breakout level that you had as support that pretty much retested support before you launched off to a all-time high there. So what 85 would be the level I would honestly tell you where it's likely going. If I'm being honest with you, Commandio, but I would hope that you kind of get that inverted head and shoulders action on the shorter time frame. But if you really want to see this pretty much get, I want to say a short-term bounce, then you're looking for this to basically reclaim 94 high. If you can reclaim 94 high, ideally break that $95 mark, then I would be comfortable trying to be a bull. Otherwise, it's not very convincing here right now, if I'm being honest with you. All right. Other than that, FUV. Let's take a look. Is that a squeeze ticker? Of course, it's a squeeze ticker. Yeah, Tom likes to look at a lot of squeeze tickers. I mean, do I think a lot of the squeeze tickers are working for you right now? No, I think that's more so AMC and GME, if I'm being honest with you. Well, I know that Tom loves his squeeze stickers. I don't think there's anything here ideally that I particularly like until you're able to break this 435 high that you smacked your head on back on May 16th and again on May 4th. I don't think there's anything here that I really want to be a part of until you're able to break that 435 high. You break 435, then I can see this starting to go north and you can start to see this really start to squeeze. But 435 doesn't break. That's literally just, there's no bottom is what I would say right now. All right. And that's a part where I wouldn't want to be a part of that. But 435 is that ideal number that you want to see a break over. And AMC, I haven't looked at AMC in ages. I've kind of avoided all the squeeze tickers, if I'm being honest with you. But to give you my opinion on maybe that ideal sweet spot, that ideal level that you basically want to see this break over, I think you're basically looking at it right around this spot right here. This is that level that I want to see AMC pretty much break over. And that would pretty much likely end up piquing my interest. But you basically need to break the $17 level. Why do I say 17? That's pretty much ideally a level that you had between support to resistance for the most part of since January up until the breakout here of March of this year basically. And then also that was a level which you had a little bit of a distribution. Also you basically see that nice large flush that you had. You tried to consolidate, it looks like, to get a reversal here, but that was the level of distribution that you had between April 12th, dating back towards April 26th, before you pretty much flushed right back down. So I need to see you basically get right back above that level, above that $17 level, which you basically retested, you broke down, retested, and then flushed off of. So if 17 doesn't break, I don't want to be a part of it because other than that, you're pretty much playing for the resistance up towards 17. As long as it pretty much ends up holding 13 half, I think you can pretty much play this up towards 17. But that would be your tough resistance spot right now. And if I'm being brutally honest with you right now, I wouldn't think about playing share options with this. I would play shares with AMC if I'm being honest with you. Because it's already relatively cheap. It's only a $14 stock. I would grab a few shares and hold it like that, and then also have that ideal stop loss in place. So what I just mentioned, 13 half. As long as it holds 13 half, you can take this up to $17. Look to take some of your profits, and then watch for that $17 mark to break. Otherwise, that's pretty much, I think, a rejection waiting to happen, and then potentially even a breakdown if it can't hold 13 half right now. All right, and that's how I would look at it. All right. But I know that AMC and Jimmy have been on their tear. I know that Tom had his eyes on it. I believe he's holding a position of some sort on it. I just don't know if he's still holding it. I know he had something on it. But hopefully that ends up making a move. But that breaks $17. I know the memes are going to go crazy, and I'm sure GME will likely follow suit on that. All right. You have similar levels? All right, so there we go. So as long as 13 half holds, we look for the break over 17, and then I think that's when a lot of the meme stock traders are going to have some fun with this one. All right. Thought I'd throw it in. I know everyone's always usually watching Tesla as well. Thought I'd just throw in levels with that one. You're basically watching for this one to also hold 746 here. You hold 746. I'm watching for this one to basically make a move up towards 790. 794 is the level that I'm watching. So that would be my target is 794. Otherwise, if you can't hold this 746, then I do have this coming down to 728, and you're gonna want to see this hold 728. Otherwise, you risk the gap fill below 720 half, and that's not gonna be pretty. So this is another one I'll keep my eyes on. The good thing is that it pretty much held up for the most part of the day. A beautiful, pretty much, well, you want to say a consolidation off of the strip that it's had. So that's another one that I'm sure will be on everyone's watch list. And considering that it's a short week, I believe the premiums are also relatively cheaper even at this time right now. So that's something you can take advantage of. But again, be careful trying to swing it, is what I would say. I think it's more suited ideally for a day trade. So that'll be something that I pretty much keep my eyes on. But pretty much I gave you, the three leading indicators of what I usually end up watching all the time: Microsoft, Apple, Tesla. Everything else kind of follows in suit. I think another one that kind of caught my attention towards the end of the day was also looking at Shop, and I think it looked a little bit better. Yeah, it looked better on the 4 hour. If you actually look at the orange lines, you have a nice little wedge action that's built here right now as it continues to just go sideways and closing in towards the end of this wedge. Uh, what I would look to see is as long as this holds 357.60, then that's going to continue to make its push right back towards the resistance. But I have a breakout is what I'm watching for. If we can get this breakout over 396 is what I'm watching for, and we can play this towards the gap fill at 425. That's ideally how I want to go about playing shop, is to look for the breakout over 396, and then I could potentially look for a move up towards testing gap to 425. And that's what I'm going to look at for calls. Otherwise, if she can't even hold this 357 half level, then I think that's going to be a flush right down towards support. And we're going to be looking to see if it holds or breaks down on the wedge for to basically make another low. So that's another one that's kind of caught my attention as well. But other than that, that's just small things on my radar. I think the biggest thing is seeing if we get a continuation to the upside off of snapping the 6 day green streak. Can the market sustain to basically continue this rally and go higher and higher? As I mentioned, watching 420 anchor VWAP, watching 426 as my overall target on SPY. I want to see if that continues to just progressively continue higher to close out the week on a short week, basically. Jason, I just went over Salesforce. I mean, but watching it, yeah, I see it's kind of trying to make its push. 172 was that big level that I'm watching here. It needs to break that 172. I think you can go as high as 172 here tonight, so I wouldn't be surprised. You get another about $2 move to the upside here on Salesforce. As long as it breaks and holds that 172, your target tomorrow is 178. So that's basically what I'll be looking at. Yeah, I was expecting it to kind of inch up there, Jason. So I started teetering between 169 to 170. You tapped 171. You should see 172 by the end of after hours here. And then on the back end of earnings, analyst ratings tomorrow morning, I want to see if we can crack that 172 level to go progressively higher and target that 178 level as I was watching. All right. So that's pretty much kind of short and sweet. The names that I was watching, what I'm just looking at, kind of just keeping it short and sweet right now. Having levels in both directions because we are the crucial spot, like I mentioned. You do have that anchor VWAP sitting on SPY that's dating back towards that March 29th high. I'm going to look to see if we can pretty much reach that anchor VWAP at that 420 spot. And if we can claim over that 420 spot and build the base over that, I'm going to be targeting 426 at this gray line here is what I'm going to be watching for as my potential lower high that we're setting ultimately. And we're going to end up likely curling right back down off of that 426 is what I anticipate. But of course, 420 still needs to be met and needs to be broken above. All right. But I'll leave it at that. I think we'll kind of leave it short and sweet right there. But other than that, I'll pretty much resume. I'll be back on live pretty much the whole day tomorrow. So sorry about that for not being on live with you guys. But other than that, appreciate you guys joining me on live. And again, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning